Picture this. You're at Thanksgiving dinner. Uncle Bob is ranting about how those liberals are destroying America. Aunt Susan calls him a fascist. Your cousin threatens to move to Canada. And you're just sitting there wondering how a simple meal turned into World War III. Sound familiar? America is broken. Not the country itself, but the way we talk to each other. We've gone from disagreeing about policies to literally seeing the other side as evil. Like, actually evil. How the hell did we get here? That's what we're diving into today, and trust me, it's not what you think. Most people blame social media, Fox News, or whatever president they didn't vote for. But the real story goes way deeper, and it's way more fascinating. I spent months researching this because I was sick of the surface-level explanations. And what I found blew my mind. Let's start with something crazy. America wasn't always this divided. Shocking, right? There was actually a time when Republicans and Democrats regularly voted for the same bills, had beers together, and didn't think the other side was trying to destroy democracy. In the 1950s and 60s, about 50% of Americans said they wouldn't care if their child married someone from the opposite political party. Today, that number has crashed to just 10%. Seriously. So what changed? Let's break this down. First off, we need to talk about something called sorting. No, I'm not talking about your laundry. Back in the day, both parties were a mess of different ideologies. There were liberal Republicans from the Northeast and conservative Southern Democrats. Politics was regional, not ideological. But then the civil rights movement happened, and everything got flipped upside down. When LBJ signed the Civil Rights Act in 1964, he reportedly told an aide, "We have lost the South for a generation." Spoiler alert, he was being optimistic. The Democratic Party embraced civil rights, and over time, conservative Southern Democrats jumped ship to the Republicans. Meanwhile, liberal Republicans in the North gradually moved to the Democratic Party. This wasn't overnight. It took decades. But by the 1990s, the parties had basically sorted themselves into ideological teams. And that's when things started getting weird. Because once you're on a team, psychology kicks in hard. We're tribal creatures, always have been. Our brains are literally wired to form in-groups and out-groups. And that brings us to the media revolution. Remember when everyone watched the same 3 TV channels and read their local newspaper? Yeah, those days are gone. Cable news exploded in the 80s and 90s. Fox News launched in 1996. MSNBC rebranded as a liberal alternative. Suddenly, you could consume news that perfectly aligned with your existing beliefs. No more uncomfortable facts to deal with. Then social media came along and it was like, hold my beer. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, they all use algorithms designed to maximize engagement. And you know what gets engagement? Outrage, anger, fear. The stuff that makes you click, share, and comment. The algorithms don't care if the content is true or fair. They care if it gets a reaction. So the most extreme voices get amplified while nuanced takes get buried. But here's where it gets really interesting. While technology was changing how we communicate, something else was happening. Americans were physically separating themselves. We started living in bubbles, literal geographical bubbles. Cities became more liberal. Rural areas became more conservative. And Americans began what sociologists call the big sort, moving to places where people think like them. Think about it. When's the last time you had a deep conversation with someone who votes completely differently than you? For many Americans, the answer is, I can't remember. When you never interact with the other side, it becomes super easy to vilify them. They're not your neighbors or friends anymore. They're just those people who want to ruin everything. This physical separation is massive. In 1976, only about 26% of Americans lived in landslide counties, places where one presidential candidate won by 20 points or more. Today, it's over 60%. We're not just divided, we're living in completely different Americas. But wait, there's more. Let's talk about what political scientists call negative partisanship. Fancy term for a simple idea. Many Americans now vote against the party they hate rather than for the party they like. Surveys show that Republicans and Democrats actually agree on lots of policies. But we've become so tribal that we'd rather own the other side than find common ground. It's like sports fans who care more about their rivals losing than their team winning. Except, with healthcare and nuclear codes at stake. And speaking of sports, politics has become our new national pastime. It's entertainment now. Politicians are celebrities. Cable news is reality TV. Twitter fights are the new spectator sport. The problem? Politics shouldn't be entertainment. It should be boring. It should be about solving problems through compromise and policy details. Instead, we've turned it into a WWE wrestling match where facts don't matter and whoever screams the loudest wins. So, are we doomed? Is America just going to keep sliding into deeper division until we're basically two separate countries? Maybe not. And this is where things get hopeful. Studies show that when Americans actually talk to each other, like real conversations, not social media flame wars, the hatred decreases dramatically. In one famous experiment, researchers brought together Republicans and Democrats for weekend-long discussions about political issues. By the end, participants reported significantly less animosity toward the other side. The problem isn't that we disagree. Disagreement is healthy. The problem is that we've stopped seeing each other as fellow Americans with different views and started seeing each other as enemies. So, what can you do about all this? First, diversify your media diet. Seriously, if you're liberal, force yourself to read conservative outlets sometimes. If you're conservative, check out some progressive sources. Not to change your mind, but to understand how the other side thinks. Second, talk to people who disagree with you, but do it in person, not on Facebook. Face-to-face conversations humanize people in a way that online interactions never will. Third, remember that political identity is just one part of who someone is. Your neighbor with the yard sign you hate might also be the person who would help you in an emergency without hesitation. Look, America has been through worse. Way worse. We fought an actual civil war, remember? Compared to that, our current division is fixable. But it starts with each of us refusing to demonize the other side. It starts with curiosity instead of contempt. It starts with remembering that behind every MAGA hat or Bernie bumper sticker is a human being who, just like you, wants what's best for the country, even if they have a different idea of what best means. So next time you're at that Thanksgiving dinner and Uncle Bob starts up, maybe ask him why he believes what he believes instead of rolling your eyes. You might not change his mind, or yours, but you might remember that we're all in this American experiment together. And that's something worth fighting for. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that subscribe button. We're just getting started on this journey through America's most fascinating challenges. What's your experience with political division? Drop a comment below. Let's actually talk to each other for once.